Good afternoon. You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm your host, Noni Ervin, in for Reverend Walden, and it's my joy to be on the air. We look forward to hearing from our guests, Kirk Mead and Ayanna Brown, in a little bit. But first, let's talk about Kwanzaa. I want to give you a little bit of background on Kwanzaa. We're going to do Kwanzaa 101 and then have a conversation about our lives and our works and our work in the context of the seven principles. So first and foremost, Kwanzaa was created in 1966 by Dr. Maulana Karenga. That means this year it is 56 years old. A lot of people don't know that. And from Dr. Karenga, he said that Kwanzaa brings a cultural message which speaks to the best of what it means to be African and human in the fullest sense. It is a cultural celebration, not a religious holiday. And it is African American and Pan-African. It started off as an African American holiday and has grown to be Pan-African. Pan-African is advocacy of unity among African countries. So over 3 million celebrate within the United States and over 30 million celebrate worldwide. And these are some old numbers. These numbers are from a few years ago. So I'm sure the numbers have grown. There are 7 core symbols of Kwanzaa, and these are all of what we would call the celebratory items to set our table as we celebrate Kwanzaa with family and community. Because that's really what it's about, is family and community. First would be the mkeka, which is the straw mat. And you'll notice that the language of Kwanzaa is Swahili, which is also spoken by tens of millions all over the continent of Africa and around the world. The mkeka, the straw mat, this is a symbol of our tradition and history and the foundation of which we build. So the straw mat goes on our table first. On top of the mat, we put the kinara, which is the candle holder, and it's symbolic of the roots of our parents and continental Africans. So the kinara is typically going to be made of wood, and they come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, but your kinara. Next is the Nguzo Saba, which are the 7 candles, and Mishuma meaning candles and Saba meaning 7. The 7 candles symbolize the 7 principles, the Nguzo Saba, and they're a set of values for African people to live by, African American people to live by throughout the year. So the colors, right? The candles are red, black, and green. The red stands for the blood of African Americans and African Americans have shed in their struggle as carried on for freedom. So when I speak with children, we don't say blood because children, that's kind of weird for them. So we talk about how hard they may have worked or the struggle that they went through or the how tough it was, right? Black stands for the brotherhood or sisterhood, right, of Black people involved in the struggle for freedom. And green stands for the land that Black people once owned in Africa and our future hope for that will result from our struggle for freedom. So in all parts of the candles and the colors, it's all about that struggle toward freedom, the brotherhood toward freedom, and our hope for our future that comes from that struggle. Now, it matters what order we light the candles. We don't just light them all willy-nilly. We begin with the black candle and then the red candle and then the green candle. That means the people come first, then the struggle, and then the hope that comes from the struggle. So it's really beautiful. I think my hope is that every time you see red, black, and green, you remember this part of what that means. And it's about the love and struggle for freedom. Okay, next is the mazao, the crops. And we're talking about our table that we set for Kwanzaa. The mazao, or the crops, are symbolic of African harvest celebrations and the reward of productive and collective labor. My favorite part about that is collective labor, right? Because we all know what it means to work hard and to bear some of that fruit, but working together for that fruit is, I think, a beautiful thing. Okay. Next we have the muhindi, the corn. Oh, I said the mazal is my favorite, but these are actually my favorite. Oh, the mohindi, the corn, because they are symbolic of our children and our future that they embody. So if you're in a home and you don't have any children, then you at a minimum have two ears of corn, and they can be they're the dried corn. And every time children come up to the table, they say, "Is that real?" And I say, "Yes, that's what happens when you let it dry out." But don't eat it like that. But the mazao represents them. So you have an ear of corn for every child in the house and at a minimum two. Okay. And then the Kikombe Cha Umoja is the unity cup. And the unity cup is set on the side. It's symbolic of the foundational principle and practice of unity, which makes all else possible. One of the really wonderful things about Kwanzaa is that everything begins with unity, and everything is in a sequence and an order so that you are always returning back to unity. So really beautiful. We used to pour the libation, water or otherwise, into the unity cup and then pass the unity cup around. But anymore, you might pour the libation into the unity cup and use that cup to pour into other cups. So just depends on the household or the gathering you're in. And then last for the core symbols is the zawadi, the gifts. And these are symbolic of the labor of love of parents and the commitments made and kept by the children. And these are going to typically be handmade gifts, books, educational gifts. These are not going to be like a regular commercial grade gifts. So these are intended to be really important for the young people, for our children. So those are the core symbols. Now we're going to run through the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, which are the Nguzo Saba. Nguzo Saba. December 26th, and I don't know if I mentioned this, so Kwanzaa is a 7-day celebration from December 26th to January 1st. The first night is Umoja, unity, to strive for and to maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. And Umoja is represented by the Black candle. And so we all get together during Kwanzaa. We greet each other in Swahili and say habari gani, and habari gani means what's the news. And during Kwanzaa we say the day of the principles. So on Umoja we say Umoja, and we do that on the next day and the next day and the next day. Okay, December 26th, the day 2 is Kujichagulia, self-determination, to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. So we do not let anyone speak for us. And, when working with young people, we make sure that they find a way for their voice to be heard, or find someone that can help them with their voice being heard. So adults that they trust, young people that they trust, friends that they trust, and making sure that their voice is always heard. December 28th is Ujima, collective work and responsibility, to build and maintain our community together and to make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems and to solve them together. One of my favorite parts about Ujima is that it's about seeing your brothers and sisters. So it lets me know that I'm not alone in what's important to me, and they're not alone either. And if we are able to share with each other our concerns and our issues that we have personally, within family, within community, nationally, regionally, globally, then these are things that we're concerned for one another, and we work to solve them together. So that means that we have the solution among us. So love that one, Ujima. The next one is Ujamaa, cooperative economics. Now, contrary to popular understanding, cooperative economics is not the same as socialism. Okay, cooperative economics is the circulation of our dollars in our community so that the community can be healthy and thrive, like a fishbowl. the water is maybe filtered out, but it comes back in. And as long as the water level stays, then you have a healthy fish tank. And if you ever have a situation where the hose is pointed out of the tank and the water is not returning, you'll notice the water level drops. That is the opposite of cooperative economics. That means that the resources are now leaving the community. And we want to make sure that we create environments where our businesses, our commerce, our financial activity can occur with each other. We can profit from our businesses together, do business with one another, and all that. So next is NIA, purpose, to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. NIA is the not satisfied with the status quo. Reverend Walden was our individual NIA award recipient for our Kwanzaa Awards last year. And I think that is so appropriate given the work that she's done and continues to do. So we love all of our principals and just love that NIA is all about making sure that our culture and our heritage are honored and that our value is where we place our value. Day 6 is Kuumba, creativity, to do always as much as we can and the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. Kuumba is fun because Kuumba is not creating from scratch. Kuumba is recreating from what you have around you. So one of the fun things we do at camp is have the young people create something within the park, but they cannot disturb an ecosystem. They cannot take anything living off of the plants or the vine. They have to use anything that's fallen on the ground or anything that's around. And they made these stick figure skyscapes, cityscapes. They made beautiful designs. And the best part about it is when they left the park and they came back the next day, it was still there. And everyone who had been through the park from the time that they had placed their designs through camp for the next couple of weeks got a chance to see and be impacted in a really beautiful way by this art that was just suddenly laying in the rocks or in the dirt or in the sand. So wonderful experience for young people to know that the little bit that they can do can have a big impact on the world. And the last day is January 1st, Imani, faith, to believe with all our hearts in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. Oh, I love this one because this is the intergenerational piece and the storytelling piece. And from Imani, from understanding the righteousness and victory of our struggle, from believing in our people, our parents, our teachers, and our leaders, we then return back to Umoja, unity. So, and the cycle continues. So let's see here. Now, that's Kwanzaa 101. And I am the founder and creator of Kinara Park Kids. Again, my name is Noni Ervin, and we are developing character and positive values in everyday life by utilizing the 7 timeless principles of Kwanzaa. Each one of the Kinara Park Kids is named after one of the principles. So we have Umoja, we have KG or Kuji Chagolidia, the twins, which made them twins because people often mix them up, Ujima and Ujamaa. Their definitions are very close in the beginning to build and maintain. And then Nia, Kuumba, and Imani. They are different shades, skin tones. They have different hair textures. Their clothing color is on purpose. And it's a lot of fun to talk about the 7 Kinara Park kids being friends, and young people get a chance to meet them like they would kids at their friends at recess. And they get to learn their names, although it might be odd that their names are in Swahili. But when we go to recess, we learn all of our friends' names. We learn about their characteristics, their personality, and then and we accept them as our friends as they are. So each one of the Kinara Park kids interacts with their world as their principal. So you'll see Ujima, collective work and responsibility. He interacts in a different way than Nia, whose purpose might. So much fun. From Kinara Park Kids came a social emotional learning resource. And from that came our global classroom. Every month, we talk to students around the world, elementary, middle school, and high school, about collective work and responsibility and about purpose and about creativity. And each month we pick a theme, we do a storytelling session, and then we let the young people share what it means to them without judgment and just encourage them. And they love it. They've asked for more time. They love Global Classroom Exchange, and it's so much fun because they get to see that teens are the same around the world. Elementary school students are the same around the world. They make friends, and it's just wonderful. I'll end with this before we go to break is the Kwanzaa Awards, where we celebrate individuals and organizations who embody each of the 7 principles. And it's so much fun because the nominations come from family, community, and friends, and the selections are from family, community, and friends. So it's wonderful. You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm your host, Noni Ervin, in for Reverend Walden, and we'll be right back with our guest, Kirk Mead.
The Mother's Justice Show is brought to you by H.G. Walden and the Virtues Healing Circles. Join us for Wisdom and Wellness with Reverend Walden, a monthly virtual and in-person healing circle that focuses on community healing and growth. Learn more at virtueshealing.com. That's virtueshealing.com. Also, be sure to join our healing group on Facebook. Again, visit us at virtueshealing.com today.
Hi, this is Dr. K. Mahina Intron, inviting you to tune in on Mondays on 1150 KKNW at 5 p.m. to Dr. K's Attuning to Your Abundance, where we honor everyday abundance through positive messages, poetry, music, affirmations, and writing exercises. For more information, contact Dr. K Workshops at gmail.com or Facebook, Dr. K's Abundance.
You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm your host, Noni Ervin, in for Reverend Walden. And we have the privilege of talking with Brother Kirk Mead today. Kirk, how are you?
I am fantastic. Thanks for having me on the show, Noni. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I'm so excited. You know, we have not had a chance or the opportunity, I'll say, to work together. But I plan to use your brilliance. I just have plans for your brilliance. You know, I've seen you in community and seen you with young people and adults in some of the work you've done. I have tremendous respect for you. So we'd love to hear from you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing now.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk. And yeah, I'm looking forward to us working together. I reconnected with you a few months back. We had some plans, best laid plans. We're still post-pandemic too. We're still trying to figure out how everything is working out. So you got, plenty of run time before we connect and do big things together. Right now I'm working as a consultant. But before this moment, I was working at Seattle Public Schools. I was director for stakeholder engagement there for a few years, mid-pandemic, which made for some really challenging times. Certainly in service to our communities, we did the best we could to do right by our kids, especially with the district's commitment to African-American boys, which I'm still deeply encouraged by and excited to see how that emerges and grows and continues to nurture our children's development. So we got a chance to do a lot of really important and impactful things. And I know we continue to do. Our colleagues that are still at the district continue to do really important and impactful things. I've moved on into my own consulting work, and so much of what I do right now is focused on similar stuff to what I was doing in public instruction, which is really about organizational development, strategic planning, near, mid, and long-term work plans and really being intentional about how we think about the development of our organizations and our community and people serving organizations, centering folks and individuals rather than institutions around the work, right? Our processes are intended to serve people, not the other way around. And so often keeping us focused on that objective is really critical as we sort of conspire to do better by our communities and by the people that we engage with every day.
That's a big deal. It's funny you mentioned our plans. I feel like our plans are just in process. That's me and you specifically. But what the work that you do in planning, I know is really important. It's so much work goes in on the front end, right?
That's right.
To get prepared for the opportunity. And you know, are you do you have a sense of the health of organizations as you get to them? Does it look encouraging, or are you just glad to be there and help them in that work?
Well, I think what's really, important to note is we're still becoming acquainted with our new normal, right? The pandemic shifted so much of how we think about work and life, and all of our ambitions. And so as institutions or organizations sort of emerge from, or at least continue to pass through this, what's referred to as the pandemic portal in some conversations, they're still getting their feet under them. The way we work has shifted, and I think shifted in a very positive way. And getting oriented to that is going to be a challenge for most of us. Some of us want to return to the before times, right? Before the pandemic, where we all worked ourselves right down to the nub, deep exhaustion, commuting hours on end. And when we realized in the pandemic is we're able to be as effective, if not more effective, if we sort of do away with some of the things that drain us, that undercut our capacity to be creative and to engage in meaningful ways. That we do things that preserve our energies and become more focused with our time. And so while there is certainly a move to come back into a space where we're bringing people into physical space every single day, and we're asking them to create in the ways that we've always expected them to create, I think there is more room now than ever before to be expansive with our thinking, capacious in the way that we build our organizations, and make much more room for lots of different ways of being in the world that weren't possible before, or at least we didn't allow for the possibilities of before.
Yeah, well, I think I agree with you. I think the pandemic allowed for a much needed, I'll say, an interruption in the way we have been doing business. I could have done without some of the health concerns that came along with it,
Yeah.
right? But I think the interruption to many of us in the way we were just going about our business, head down, not realizing, okay, what's most important to me? Where do I want to spend my time? What do I want to focus on? And I've heard and seen a lot of that lately. And I've been doing this for all these years, and I never thought about, is this meaningful work? Is this what I want to do, or is this where I want to be? So I'm glad that you're there doing that. I would like to know if you have celebrated Kwanzaa in your life.
I have. We talked about this before we got on the call, and everybody likes Kujichagulia, like lots of different reasons. That's my favorite principle. One, because who doesn't like saying it? That's it has right. Come on, it's the right
Say
kind
it again,
of energy.
Kirk.
Kujichagulia. You
All
right.
right.
You catch me off guard, and I saw what you did there. You're not gonna catch me off guard. No, I love it. I love the notion of self-determination, really, of recasting our present, our past, and our future in a way that properly represents who we are as a people, our values, our principles, the things that are deeply important to us. And Kwanzaa as a celebration is quintessential Blackness, right? The idea that we have to reconstitute new ways of moving, right, from the old ways of being, from the hulls of slave ships all the way to the White House. We've constantly been reimagining and reinventing Black norms and Black ways of being. And I think there's something deeply beautiful and invigorating and exciting about the ways we conspire to create new futures and possibilities. And this is 56 years in, this has stood the test of time. And these principles inform so much of the ways we move in the world still.
Love it. Love it. I just read an article about how they said, and it was from a few years back, that Kwanzaa has reached its peak and it's starting to fade. And I said, well, this was a few years ago and they were wrong, because it continues to grow, and hope, the goal was never for it to be contained within those 7 days, right, but for it to live daily outside of those 7 days. So we love that. In the work that I do, I get to see and talk about the principles every day. With all ages, which it's turned into. And it's nice to see Kwanzaa being included in the conversation of cultural celebrations.
Mhm.
Detroit is making their giant city center Kinara. I heard how they're making it. They tried to use wood beams. They're using steel, or they tried to use steel. They're using wood, and it's massive. But you know what? They've had all these other cultural celebrations acknowledged in the city center. So it's wonderful now to see Kwanzaa being part of that. So love that. Now, when I hear the work you're doing, it falls within a lot of things, but it reminds me of I'd say somewhere between Ujima and Ujamaa, right? To build Ujamaa being cooperative economics. Those are our capacity builders, our businesses, everything around business, right? Um, and I know that with businesses, it's nearly impossible to see everything that you need, especially as a small business. And so, how can people reach you or get a hold of you for your services, or what is your ideal client look like?
Oh, well, those are two really important questions. One, the email is the best way to reach me. It's info@the carringtongroup.co. That's info@the carringtongroup.co, not .com. You put .com, it disappears into the beautiful ether of the internet, never to be seen from again. So don't do that. We want to talk. I'm always here for the conversation. And then just in short about businesses, I think what's important to note about the way that I go about work, and actually this is how I go about relationships, we really do things collaboratively, co-creation, co-design, right? Anchoring and rooting it in the fundamental vision and dream that you have for your enterprise. And I don't care what it is, it's nonprofit, philanthropic, right? For-profit, private enterprise, public sector. It doesn't matter. What is the fundamental vision for your dream? And then how do we align processes around that? How do we begin to allow those processes to serve those principles in meaningful ways and amplify those principles? Institutions have a really interesting way, and we don't talk about this enough, but we do talk about, when we talk about institutional racism, for instance, right, in this sort of negative sense, right? They amplify the sum total of the spirit and the energy and the sentiments of the people doing the work. And so being principally aligned around your work and knowing what's most important is critical, because as you then begin to build out your business will amplify. The decisions you make will begin to reflect the principles you walked into that work with. And so we have to anchor ourselves in the appropriate principles. It's a great conversation to have in this week of Kwanzaa, and certainly as we move through the rest of the year, really thinking about principle-driven enterprise and work and organizations and institutions, and being anchored in the right sorts of values that really begin to reflect what's most important to you, and then support our communities as we grow and develop them.
Love it. So when I said earlier that this is Kwanzaa 101, this is the bare minimum of it, right? But just what you mentioned about anchoring ourselves. When I think of there are the Adinkra symbols, the Kwanzaa Adinkra symbols. The one for for Ujamaa cooperative economics is one that means intimacy. And you say, well, why, when you're talking about money, are you talking about intimacy? And it really has to do with me trusting you and caring first and foremost about you as we do business together, as we have not just transactions, but as we trust each other with our finances, working together, our intention of what we want those dollars to do, and all of that. Contracting, collaboration, having what's most important or what's in your best interest in mind, like I would a loved one, right? That's how I'm supposed to interact with you as my brother, right? As my sister, right? Caring about giving you the benefit of the doubt and understanding that, and then there's the thing, well, why does it cost more over here than over there? Well, volume is how you drop prices. So let's begin to do business with each other more. Let's go see Kirk Mead and get our business, supported and set up properly and grow it. Let's do business and work together. So, I love it. So what else do you want to talk about, Brother Kirk?
Oh, that's a great question. I loved how you framed that. I think the economic imperatives that we all live under tend to drive us in directions that don't necessarily serve our communities, our environments, and our health the way we would want it to. Right? we're often called, I think you sort of alluded to socialism, right? We live in a capitalist economy. We build a lot of things that really, that may or may not actually serve our best interest, our mental health, right? Our physical health, and so much of what cooperative economics can be for our communities is really about a more democratic capitalism, if you believe in capitalism at all, that says we're going to build things and create things and think about things that are in our best interests, not just things that drive profit, but things that make us more whole, that make us healthier, that really speak to our best interests overall, not just politically, but again, spiritually too. And those are really sort of, they're very heady ideas, right? They're principally speaking. But starting small, starting with things that are manageable, starting with our households and how we arrange our experiences, our lived experiences, helps us. Looking around and saying, are these the things I want to surround myself with, right? And then do I want to continue to do business with organizations and institutions that continue to inundate me with experiences and products that do not, in fact, begin to serve my spirit well? And there's an opportunity to have meaningful conversations in our organizations and our institutions about how we've immersed ourselves with things that are not, in fact, feeding our spirit, causing us to build more vibrant, thriving communities, and ultimately, having the kind of lives that we want for ourselves and then also for our futures.
Oh man, I love it. So one of the things that we do in our global classroom exchange, or actually with any students, is we'll start off with a storytelling session of some sort. We do this differently for the elementary than we do for middle school and high school. In the middle school and high school, we really kind of let them lead, but we give them some advanced questions and points that we're going to cover and let them prepare their stuff in advance, because they don't play. They like to come ready to go. So right. Our next lesson, which we started, is Ujima, right? Collective work and responsibility. And one of the things with Ujima is like social issues. Okay, my brothers and sisters' problems are my problems, and we work to solve them together. So what are the top 20 global social issues, or global issues, right? You have everything from climate change to water quality to food insecurity to poverty. There's a whole list of things, right? And when you turn these kinds of things into a game for young people, pick your top 5 major issues and now popcorn solutions. There are elementary schools where they have come up with these amazing solutions that they've actually been able to implement and show that these young people have come up with these solutions that really do solve the problem. And I think, like what you said, there's nothing wrong with capitalism, right? What are we going to say is important to us? And we say that with our dollars, right? Our mental health, our families, our community, our solving problems together. These are all opportunities for us to grow our own economy, our financial well-being, taking care of one another, and I love it. So, well, Brother Kirk, I appreciate you being here. It's the Carrington Group with 2 R's, right?
That's
Carrington.
Yeah.
And I think I look forward to working with you. And do you have any final words before we go to break real quick?
I think there's a way to think about our futures that gives us an option to think about it in more rich and vibrant tones. The idea that we can thrive, right? The realization that because tragic things that have happened to us, we are not in fact a tragic people. We continue to strive. We continue to push for greater and more and better. And I'll end by saying this: it's not about, for me, capitalism. I'm not pro-capitalist. I'm not necessarily anti-capitalist, but doing things that for our community serves us best and better is the way I would like to think about when we think about economics, when we think about our health, when we think about our well-being, and continue to move in that direction. I think we'll find the right principles and the right practices far more frequently than not.
I love it. That's right. We don't have to choose. We get to just keep our best interests in mind first. Thank you, Brother Mead. So you're listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm your host, Noni Ervin, in for Reverend Walden, and we'll be right back with our guest, Ayanna Brown.
The Mother's Justice Show is brought to you by H.G. Walden and the Virtues Healing Circles. Join us for Wisdom and Wellness with Reverend Walden, a monthly virtual and in-person healing circle that focuses on community healing and growth. Learn more at virtueshealing.com. That's virtueshealing.com. Also, be sure to join our healing group on Facebook. Again, visit us at virtueshealing.com today.
You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm your host, Noni Ervin, in for Reverend Walden. And we are on with Ayanna Brown. How are you?
I am beautiful. How are you?
Oh, so good. So Ayanna Brown, Ayanna is my sister. We have had the privilege of working together, right, on the Community Investment Budget Committee for King County's first participatory budgeting process. And I want to say about Ayanna, I love you. I have tremendous respect for you. I'm glad that you said yes to being on and us being able to hear your voice and from you today. But we just want to have fun and have a conversation about. So I'll let you share a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, thank you, sis, for this invitation. It is an honor to be invited. Little about myself. Natural mother to 4. I often say I raised 4 kids and a husband. And all of my children are adults now. I am co-founder of Alajawan's Hands, the Alajawan Brown Foundation, Alajawan's Hands, DBA as Alajawan's Hands. And my husband and I created that in honor of our son Alajawan, who was murdered in 2010 when he was 12 years old. And so the foundation that we have just carries on his legacy, because he always said he wanted to make a difference in his community. And so that's how I got thrust into doing community work and being a community advocate.
Oh, thank you for being here. So I when I say I'm glad you were able to be on, I know that schedule wise, it's hard to catch you sometimes. You've been in the middle of so much. And tell us, before we get into talking about the Kwanzaa principles, tell us about what you all did over Thanksgiving with families and, kind of some of the stuff that you do throughout the year for those families and community.
Okay. So when the foundation first started, we had 3 signature annual events. We have now added 2 more. And so one of those events is the Thanksgiving dinner, Alajawan's table, Alajawan's community table, Thanksgiving dinner. And in that, we fashion that just like at our house. Everybody is in there, somebody, getting their hands washed. Somebody's peeling potatoes, somebody's chopping vegetables, somebody's crumbling up the cornbread, right? And so we do the same thing with our community family members as well. Because of the COVID pandemic in 2020 and 2021, we took it and made it contactless, and so it was drive-through. So this year, 2022, was our first time opening back up to the public, and so people were able to come in and we had a social hour where we opened the doors an hour before, and people can sit down and play table games. And my ultimate favorite was our very first guest was a little old lady about in her 80s. She had never heard of Connect 4, and one of the teenage volunteers sat down a good 45 minutes playing Connect 4, with this lady. So here it is, this generational gap, right? That are for that split, for those few moments, they were one, and they were laughing and they were talking, and enjoying each other's, company. So it was, so that just filled my heart. And so my disclaimer for Thanksgiving is I'm sorry, you guys, for you that are gluten-free, sugar-free, salt-free. That's not the meal for you. You can come, smell the food, but you probably wouldn't want to participate in that.
Ooh, and I'm the designated taste tester for any. So just want to let you know, I will always keep that door open. Of course, it is my
The
gift to the
invitation
world.
it is a standing invitation. The door is always open.
Oh, so what you just started talking about um the Kwanzaa principle Imani faith, right? The intergenerational piece. It's seems uh with the pandemic, it's difficult or has been difficult to get our elders together with our youth. On a regular day, that's not an easy thing, but in a pandemic, that becomes even more difficult. And so, we that's something that's really important to us. I feel like it's a sense of urgency because not so much for health reasons, but because there are so many stories that we need to hear. Like we need to not hear them just see them on the pages of books, which we need to see, but we need to hear them from those who experience them firsthand, right?
Right.
And so when we are driving down the street, or we're going to vote, or we're going to do these things that are convenient for us, and we learn about, or we're in our classroom at school, or we're able to start our own business, and we hear about what our grandmothers and grandfathers and our great aunties and our community elders have gone through, then we have for me, it gives a sense of responsibility, knowing that they have done that work and that we are, as some would say, standing on their shoulders. It really feels like we are entrusted to carry this forward. And it starts with the Connect Four. That's where it starts, right? It starts with an elder. So an elder and a team sit down at a table and play Connect Four, and that relationship it begins. And now they can have that, because that elder, we forget our elders were children once, and they were teenagers once, and so it's so much fun.
Yes.
So yeah. So how many families have you been able to serve, even in a pandemic, or reach in a pandemic?
So I don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't know how many families, family units, but I can say that 200 meals were, and when I'm saying that, there was no limit of you eat one time and that's it. So if you went back and you got a plate full four different times, to me that's a whole new meal, right? And that does not include what we allowed you to put in a take home plate to go with you. So everybody was well fed. I can say though that when I checked the demographic information, that our service spread, I want to say, if I remember correctly, 26 different zip codes.
Wow.
That were represented on that day. And so so our reach is expanding. And then for Christmas, I have a special tender space in my heart for the Skyway community. And so I reached out to the 3 elementary schools and the middle school in Skyway, and we hosted Alajawan's Bridge Shop at the Cop, and 81 kids got to go shopping, and they were allowed to get whatever it was they wanted. So some kids, they got toys, some kids were putting groceries in their basket, some were buying household toiletries like soap and deodorant and toothpaste, and so that's what we did in December.
So sis, I don't want to gloss over what you said. So you said shop, SHOP, with the cops, COP. And so so today we're talking about Kwanzaa and the principles, right? Mm-hmm. So with the Ujima, collective work and responsibility, this is the building and maintaining of our communities together, making our brothers and sisters' problems our problems. So when we talk about how the police show up in the Black community, how they show up in the Skyway community, right? How they show up in our community, both from the perspective of how we as Black mothers feel like I don't want to see the cops anywhere near in my world, right? Um, and then and I know that, they run the gamut in terms of relationships with community and the like, but there's also the cops and the police officers, their perspective of community. So what you've been able to do is finding a solution and putting the two together for something that is not related to law enforcement. It's not related to an issue at hand. It is a need for these families and these households, and an opportunity for those officers to build relationship with the community that they are there to protect. Right?
Yes.
Wow.
Hence the title, Alajawan's Bridge.
Love it. Alajawan's Bridge.
Yeah.
I didn't have the privilege of knowing Alajawan, but the legacy of his life is so wonderful, and what you and your family have been able to do. Just so wonderful. I can see, like, it's almost like a fabric of love and care that you've laid out over the Skyway community and any community where you are showing up in honor of your son, just the love of your son. And I had a chance to come to one of your events. Man, we played games. I lost the game. My son was in there to the end. He got taken out by one of the mothers, but I saw community organizations there. I saw municipality organizations there, right? City, county. I saw folks who were, I saw small businesses there. I saw children, and I saw our elders all together in the sun, and it was in the cold, and then in the sprinkles. It didn't matter. And so I just encourage you. It's a beautiful thing, and I know it must be difficult at times, but thank you so much for sharing his life and your love in this way.
Thank you. I'm honored to do it. But here lately, so I'm gonna see if I can pronounce this right. Kuji Chagulia.
Yes, Kuji Chagulia.
Okay. For that one, for whatever reason, really stands out to me this time. And here's why. The scripture tells us, love your neighbor as thyself, right? And we always focus on the loving thy neighbor, but it's love thy neighbor as thyself. So that means love you, do for you as well. So if there are certain, the way we abuse ourselves and neglect ourselves, that is not something that we would do to our neighbors, right? And so for me, I'm learning in this season right now to start loving on Ayanna and to think of things that Ayanna wants to do, because I'm well versed of taking care of my neighbor and doing things for other people, but it's at the total expense of me. And I'm just now coming to the realization that that's not okay. Because then if I'm not recharged, if I'm not invigorated, I'm really cheating my sister and my brother, because I can't give them the full gamut of what I'm supposed to bring to the table. And so I am now learning to push back, say no. If nothing is what I want to do, then nothing is what I want to do. And to be able to say no unapologetically. No is no. I don't need to give you no explanation. It's just, I ain't doing it.
As a mother, that is the heart, right? As a mother, as a community member, as a leader in your own right, and having an organization, there's a lot of reasons why that right there is a lot of the reason why or philanthropic groups like the Seattle Foundation came up with the Black Joy grant for community-based organizations that have been head down doing this work for so long. They haven't had a chance to take care of themselves. They haven't had a chance to take a break. They haven't had a chance to recharge. We won't get into that. That's a racial equity thing, why that is. But I love that that's something that is near and dear to you right now. I find that with the principles, I might have a favorite one today. I have, one that kind of resonates with me for a while. It might be a month, it might be a couple months, and then it'll be one of the other ones. Right now I'm loving Imani. Oh, just the intergenerational piece and Ujima. But, as Black women, many times we're told to be quiet, you're too loud, and we really put away our voice. And we put it away in a little bag. We put it over on the side because it makes folks uncomfortable. And I love that you are using your voice and keeping your voice. And it's so important because the young people that you're around are seeing you in that. So love you for that, and thank you for that.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to? Oh, go ahead, and then share just quickly how people can find you as we get to the end of the show.
Okay. I was just going to say, you're talking about, our voices. I am the kid in elementary school that every 6 weeks when I got the report card, the teacher would handwrite on there, talks too much, right? I stayed in trouble for that. But now to those teachers, just nanny, nanny, boo, boo, I'm doing it now. But
yes, keep your voice.
I can be found at Alajawanshands.com. So every other letter is an A. So just sound out the syllables. Alajawan, ALAJAWAN, Alajawanshands.com. My email address is Ayanna Brown, AYANNA, Brown as in the color, at Alajawanshands.com. Phone number 425-208-6236.
Thank you so much for being here. You've been listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm your host, Noni Ervin, in for Reverend Walden. Bless you this holiday and celebration season.